Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Hey, welcome to Dogging It. Day one Mosconi Cup in the books, a day of agony for U.S. fans. What do you have to say, Melina Mike?
A day to be forgotten if you're rooting for the U.S. of A. Uh, yeah, I don't really know where to begin, man. I'm surprised, but then I'm kind of not surprised, and then I'm still a little surprised. I don't know.
Yeah, I had a few thoughts about today, and I'd like to kind of get your view on my thoughts about today. But I took a few notes, and the first note that I have is maybe we just aren't good enough.
I mean, listen, in this like trophy world we live in, those are pretty harsh words. You know what I mean? Like, we if there were trophies given out for a podcast, we'd even get a trophy for in the world we live in. You know what I mean? So, um, so
What are you trying to
some people
say?
some
We
people
should
may
get a
take
trophy.
some people may not. They say that's what I mean. No, we shouldn't get a trophy. We
Oh,
shouldn't.
that's
Should
funny.
get a trophy. A guy like Joe Rogan, who's got millions of followers. Guys like us should not get a trophy. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Maybe we're not good enough. That's part of it, sure. But I think that for me, the bigger storyline of the day was missed opportunities, and then the players seem to go as their leaders went and the ones that they look to. And the beginning of the day was, just a microcosm of how the day actually went because opening rack, Shane breaks the balls, has an opening shot, and then it's Shane. Shane's smiling. Shane's not getting tilted by the fans. Shane's running out the balls, and you're thinking it's done. It's over with. We're having the watch party sponsored by Fort Worth Billiards, by the way. And Shane's on the 8 ball, and I put in the comments. I said, okay, it's 1-0 USA in the team event, and then I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that he missed the 9 ball, and then
Yeah.
from there it was just it the wheels just completely fell apart, and everyone kind of seemed to go by that. And I see Chris's comment in the chat. I don't know that I'd necessarily agree because I thought there was points in there where they showed fight, but yeah, I mean it was something. It was
Well,
disheartening if you're a fan of the U.S. That's for
we've
sure.
all been through this with Shane and Mosconi, and we know that this isn't his best platform, right? It's typically he doesn't play his best at Mosconi Cup, but when you and I were there watching them in Fort Worth and kind of watching them prepare, even today with the coaching that you saw in the team match and in the doubles, Shane, everybody looks to Shane, right?
That's what I
And so
meant. That's what I meant. They go by their
when Sh-
leader.
when Shane misses that 9 ball, when Shane misses that 7 ball, it's got to take the wind out of the sails of the rest of the team. And so it's just unfortunate the way it happened. I don't think that Shane's going to play this bad the whole time. He'll turn it around. He's a professional.
I
But
don't, I can't co-sign on that. I don't, you
no,
know what I mean? Like, no, not in a team event. I can't. Like, if it was, listen, if it was winter break, and Shane can go out there all by himself and break the balls, then yeah, maybe if you're down 4-0, yeah, Shane's not out of it. But when Shane's sitting there like this when the camera's on, or like this when the camera's on, it looks like he was checking Facebook or something. I don't know. And um, the biggest part for me was, and I've said this many times when it comes to Sky, like if you look at the guy when he's playing pool, you don't know if he's 4-1 up or 4-1 down, right? And when I saw him walk down the stairs for the filler match, I said they're in trouble because that same look that he had on his face was the exact same look that I saw when he was paired up with Earl last year. Whenever we were there at Bally's,
really,
it
what
was
do
the
you mean by that?
exact same look. It's just he wears it differently, and he wore it differently today. And it's not any knock on
I
him,
mean,
but
the
I feel like
match
I feel
was
like I feel like it was just the way that things had gone up until that point. Look at Shane Jackson's comment in there. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like that's what it seemed like. It seemed like it was very negative from the after that team match, or towards the end of that team match when Sky gets 2 points. I think Tyler got a point. Shane gave up 2 points on a missed 7 ball and a missed 9 ball for Team USA,
Hmm.
and you follow that up with, and there was a lot of question marks before the day got started about matchups and lineups and things like that. And me and Mike were talking about it, and it was like you have Shane going in there with Tyler on match number 2, right? But now you got Shane who just missed 2 balls and who's fully tilted, right? And then on the back end, it's set up to where you have 2 rookies going in there against a very ferocious crowd down 3-0.
Well,
You know,
Jeremy couldn't have known that Shane was going to dog it in the team match. So I can't really fault him for putting Tyler and Shane together in match 2, right? It's just one of those things where, you know, Shane could have made those balls and came into that second match on fire. And I don't mind the Federer Wolfert pairing to end the day because you got to get every player has to play on day one. So you got to get them in somewhere, and you're not really going to put Wolford up in a singles match at this point, I don't think. So you got to pair him with
no.
somebody. And I didn't think that Wolford and Federer played very bad. That's the thing. Like if you look at the Josh and Sky match,
Oh, I don't think they did at all.
yeah,
I thought Wolford played phenomenal. To
yeah.
be honest with
So
you, like all
we'll
things
get to
considered, I
that.
thought he played great.
We'll get to that. But
Yeah,
like if you look at the Sky match with Filler, it was just one of those things. Scott Frost said it best. Like it seemed like the only cue he used was his jump cue. He never really had opportunities in that match to do any damage against Filler. It was just one of those matches in a race to
yeah,
five that goes against you.
but the morale wasn't there from the beginning, is what I'm saying. And just if you were to do like a photo comparison, and I'll never forget that look because it was the first time that I've ever seen Sky have that look on his face. Watching him play many tournaments, you know what I mean, was last year at Bally's, and that was the number one thing because when they introduce him, they immediately pan into you're walking down the steps, and it was just like these real kind of like going through the motions, dapping everyone up, and I was like, this isn't. And look, Sky's more than capable of beating Filler. We've seen it many times,
Yeah.
right? And Filler respects Sky, and we all know Sky's resume out there, But I think it all has to do with how it got started, and there was the energy, whatever energy that, like, if you were going to take any kind of moral victories from that team event, it was done immediately when Shane and Tyler are just quiet the whole time, just watching Albin and Shaw just pick them apart, and they're there having doing rock paper scissors, laughing it up. What do you want to do? Do you want to go for it? Not go for it? You know what I mean? Like, just not a care in the world. And they wear pressure differently. They wear successes differently. They wear failures differently. And let's be honest with you, Joe. This isn't the first time in a Mosconi Cup that we've talked about body language of a certain individual on Team USA. You know,
All right. All right. Second point that I wanted to bring up is if someone's watching these matches and they don't know a whole lot about pool, they're probably thinking, wow, Europe has like a lot of just easy routine shots. And I think that's a big difference. And it shows the quality of Europe versus the quality of the US, whereas
Agreed.
their position play is impeccable. So they're getting on the right side of balls. They're lining the cue ball perfectly on these shots for the most part. And every shot that they're shooting looks like a routine shot. Whereas the US, they'll do that for a little while and then they'll get out of line, get out of shape, and Wolfer's cutting balls backwards and stuff just to try to, keep the run going. And it just shows a little bit of a class difference, I think, in the two teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's what Chris was alluding to in the chat from the very beginning, and I don't think anyone with half a brain would argue with you, Joe. You know what I mean? You're absolutely accurate. But it wasn't for lack of opportunity though. That's the difference. The Europeans start off with Filler scratching twice on his first, I think, 2 out of 3 shots, somewhere around
Mhm.
there. Jason jawed up, I think. Uh, 3 or 4 ball in his match with Albin. So it was like you had moments. The difference is that when the Europeans get moments, they're fucking killers,
They
man.
are.
Every single one of them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And they put you away and they punish you. Whereas the Americans, they don't. And they let them get back into it, and whatever little momentum or pull that they got from there immediately just got taken right back from them. And then you have the fact that those guys in the blue and the yellow are far more resilient individually and collectively, and they have trust and chemistry, and there's no SVB on that team. Those are all five number one leaders out there. All of them can look and lean on one another. They weren't trying to give each other advice based on the limitations of their game. They're giving each other the best advice to win the rack, because
Yeah.
they trust the execution is going to be there no matter what
That's a great point, right? It's a great
position
point.
they go and get to the other.
Yeah, if I'm
You
matched
know,
up in a Scotch doubles with somebody 200 Fargo points lower, I got to think about how they play rather than how I play. And you're right. Europe's going to say, hey, do this, do that. And then when they leave it, they trust that player is going to execute exactly how they would execute, as they're giving the advice. But I think one thing that you pointed out was, when they get their opportunity, and that leads me to my third point, which is that they seem to get to the shot first. And we see this year after year. Their safety play tends to be better than the US. They tend to get
it's
to the
beautiful.
shot better. That one rack with David and
I
FSR,
love
and
it.
that was amazing safety play. And you saw FSR had a shot on the ball in the corner, and instead he misses it by 6 inches because he's playing defense and he puts a cue ball down table. And you just have this
Right.
feeling whenever a safety battle ensues, Europe's going to get to the shot first. Sky, it might have been in the filler match, I think it was, where Sky was hooked and he kicks at a ball and makes a good hit, but sells it right out. And it's almost like Europe kind of thinks on a different level with their kicking, to where they're not necessarily kicking, to try to pocket a ball
with
or to be fortunate.
with a purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the defensive purpose. Like, where's this ball going to end up? David had an amazing kick, where he kicks and sticks, and the speed of it is perfect. And for the speed to
Right.
be perfect, the angle has to be perfect too. And it was
Right.
just
And
perfectly.
when you're hitting it with spin, you got to catch that ball coming off the rail full in order for it to hold while that other ball keeps on traveling, right? So you gotta know what you're doing. I think it's part of that combination, and that riddle is them having more experience out there. And I think a lot of guys got away with poor position play at times, or when it comes to those like two rail kicks per se. But no doubt that the Europeans seem to do it better. I will argue the Sky aspect only because I feel like Sky is just one of the most underrated kickers in the game, especially like kicking with a purpose and with defense. I feel like he is very much in that kind of class as those Europeans are. Shane as well, but the others, I mean, it's just they're sliding on ice, and it's not because they're not great players. It's just they also are very much out experienced by the other team as well. So,
Yeah.
and it's not to give any excuse. Listen, you do all that you can do to get ready whenever you can. It wouldn't be a show without my daughter, by the way. So say hi, babe. Can you say hi? But it's I don't know, man. I don't. I guess I never really analyze it like that, like the way you do, as far as who's going to get there first. I just simply just appreciate it because I'm just a sucker and I love watching it. You know what I mean? And that 15-minute
Well,
battle they
pay
had on the fly
attention
ball
next
was
time,
was
Mike.
was beautiful. You know, but
Pay attention
like
next time, because they
Wolford,
get to the shot first a
Wolford
lot.
and Federer held their own. They
They did.
held their against two guys who I feel like are right at the top of that European team. You know what I mean? David, like you said, is very underrated in that aspect, and I think it's that three cushion background that just lends themselves to be very efficient. In that. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, that was just one of many. I don't even want to say miscues, but maybe one of the areas that you're just outclassed, like you mentioned.
Look, when things
You go
started
back.
going the wrong way for Team
I
USA,
love you.
I think
Go get you
there's
some
this
candy. Right?
tendency. I think there's this tendency for anyone who's trailing by a
Love you.
lot to feel like they can make that up at one turn at the table, right? We're down by
Yeah.
3. We're down 3-0,
No, babe.
and so the thought process, you got to do something spectacular to kind of get back in it, and you don't. That's actually the way to defeat, right? You have to take it one game at a time. You have to get
Yep.
1 point at a time. If you're Team USA, you're not going to take the lead tomorrow, probably. So you just have to get your points where you can and get back in it. Europe did it last year. It was 3-1 after day one. USA
Okay, I'll
was
ask you
up.
the same question. Remember, we asked Laylee this after
Mhm.
after day one. Laylee comes into the booth when we're doing the podcast out there at Bally's, and I asked him. I said, it's 3-1 in favor of the Americans. Are you nervous? And the dude didn't. It was one of the most cold blooded replies I've ever, been given in my life. Because he dead stares me in the face and says, if you were down 3-1 going to 11, would you be nervous? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I would be nervous, but I get what you're saying, you
Yeah.
know, and it's true. But that's part of
Oh
like
yeah.
they got battle scars, man. You know what I mean? Like they've been through it before.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not over for Team USA by any stretch, but they have to pick up points tomorrow. They can't have
But do
another
you
day
feel
like
like
that.
they're as resilient as the Europeans are? Because when
I think we'll
when
find
when
out tomorrow.
when when Laley says that, we'll see. But see, I'm when Laley says that, I think about okay, that dude's been in this battle, in a semifinals, in a finals, over and over and over. You know what I mean? Albin, Jason, Filler, Francisco, who was on a
I'm
tear.
not
Like
worried
I,
about Sky. I'm not worried about Sky or Federer or even SVB.
you
Really,
weren't worried about Federer. You weren't worried about
no,
Federer.
I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about him because to that example that you're giving, if they're down 4-0 in a race to 11, I'm not worried about any of those guys. They've been there before and they've come back and won matches like that.
No, 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 no. No, maybe no. Federer has been in, maybe in the neighborhood, but he's never been there. Don't say he's
What do you
been
mean?
there before, because he's never been there before. He's never been down
In the
4-0 on the Mosconi Cup in front of
No, not the
2,500
Mosconi.
people. You know,
But Alex's point was, if I were down for 3-1 in a race to 11,
yeah,
that's
but all
what
those
this
guys
is.
have been there before, and
What do
there
you
is
think of
very
Federer's
different than
play today?
anywhere else. Um, I thought it was I thought it was okay. I thought Wolford was the shock of them all. I thought
Yeah, he was the shining light. Like he's the hope
Wolford
for
played
Team
great.
USA
He wasn't.
because
Yeah,
the
Federer
way
had an
he played
opportunity where
today.
he.
We
I
can-
don't mean to keep cutting you off, but Federer had opportunities today, Joe. You know what I mean? Where I'm thinking like this is the Federer that I know he's gonna bury him, but I don't know that right now, and that he went into it with a lot of question marks for a variety of reasons. Right? If Josh tells someone stop the ball, just stop the ball right there. You know what you think in your head? He's got it. When Federer told Wolford that on that draw shot, and Wolford pulled it off, great by the way. He drew that
Yeah,
cue ball back straight, but I wasn't so sold on it, and I don't think Wolford was either, which is why he drew the ball back. I
yeah.
feel like there's and maybe he'll never admit it, maybe he will, I don't know, but he didn't look as pinpoint for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think Federer missed some shots that he typically wouldn't miss, but he also came with some really good shots too. There were a number of shots that he hit that I was like, wow, including I want to say that first 9 ball that he pocketed
The
uh, in the Scotch match.
the
It was
bank on
no
the
hanger.
bank on the four ball, in the team event was everything for me because the window was there. The window was there, and Federer. The one thing about Federer is that he doesn't make poor decisions very often.
Yeah,
He'll shoot the right shot, and he knows his percentages very well. But he knows his percentages very well based on the equipment that he had prior to, right? That bank I felt like laid really good, right? Then it gets a little bit of fun. It gets a little funny with that 8 ball sitting in the corner when he missed it, right? And then Albin came with that 2 rail safe shot, which was just a beautiful shot, by the way. Completely underrated. But my point is that Federer, I feel like a few months ago, puts that ball down, and he didn't. And that seemed at points where it was like when you think, okay, he's got this. I wasn't so sure, and it didn't come to fruition.
I think
So
he'll be okay. I really do. I think the U.S. are going to pick up some points tomorrow. I think Federer's going to be okay. I'm very encouraged with Wolford's play. It's tough to find bright
yeah,
spots when you're down 4-0 for sure. And Wolford did miss a few balls in the team event. I think it was a 7 ball to the corner. He had room for it, and he hits the 8 on the way in. I think that would have been a big game for us. Am I right? Was that the team event?
yeah, I think so. I think he came with like 2 great shots, and the easier one where he had well over
Yeah,
3/4 of a pocket. He just he
yeah.
chopped at it a little bit. And I was kind of
The
surprised because
fact
he
that
had
he
just
hit the Yeah, the fact that he hit that ball shows it wouldn't have went anyway because that ball he had the full pocket. So the fact that he
yeah.
hit that ball, it wasn't going to go. But
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 he seemed real
besides
poised when
that,
I
I
didn't
thought he
expect
played
him to be
well.
poised. You know,
Yeah,
I was expecting to see more rattle from the kid, and it would have been acceptable, fine. You know what I mean? You got every excuse in the world to do that because you haven't been there before, right? And let's just be honest. You know, he's 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 not as decorated as some of these other guys. You know,
no,
so that would have been fine. So the fact that he did play so well just showed, okay, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like you can pull a positive from that. And you know, I outside of that, I don't necessarily know, Joe. I don't know.
yeah.
You know,
Not a lot
um,
of bright spots for Team USA, but I think if you're looking long game, the more Shane Wolfords we can find to get in there and be comfortable in this environment bodes well for us in the future because obviously we need to do something different, right? So, yeah. I don't know. I thought
it's my
another
daughter's birthday, Joe. Say happy birthday.
happy
She,
birthday.
she can't hear you, but say thank you. Please say happy birthday.
Thank you.
We're gonna
How
go
old is she?
celebrate. 10?
10.
10? All right, good.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
Mike, you
there
didn't
you
even
go.
know. Dad of the
I
year
did
right
know. I
there.
do. I did. Yeah, I do know.
You were
I
like
always know.
10 question mark. We all heard that.
She's giving me the look. I love you. I'll be there in just a minute, babe.
Okay.
Where are you
Um,
taking her for her birthday?
wherever the hell she wants to go, whatever she wants
Yeah,
to do, we're
I
gonna
like
do.
it.
You know.
Yes.
So,
I like it.
um,
All the
but
people in the chat blowing it up with happy birthday.
we appreciate it, guys. She appreciates it. Yeah, I'll send you my info. You guys can get her a present if
So
you
I
want.
thought the best American today by far was Scott Frost. I thought he turned in a good performance for his first commentary. He did have a few, a little bit of cheesiness and a little bit of accentuating certain syllables that were kind of not his
There
normal
were
cadence.
times
Yeah.
when he would overemphasize certain words in his
But you
sentences,
know what?
and I was like,
We've
"What
been
is he?
listening.
What is?"
We've been listening to English accents on there for far too long. It's good to have an American voice on there. So let's give props where it's due. He dogged less than the rest of the U.S. team today, so we got to give him that.
Yeah, you know, I love. This is the one thing is that I love the fact that Scott was a more open and honest with what he saw out there versus coming in there as like the American commentator. Because personally, like I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? I want to hear
How
a
hard?
I want to I
How
want to hear
hard
a
must it
commentator.
be? How hard must it be, Mike? Because like when you and I are talking about a match like right now, Shane and Sky and all them, they can't hear us. But his mic, when he was doing that interview right in front of the pool table, right after the team match, was broadcast throughout the arena. And he's talking about Shane missing shots and he shouldn't have rolled it. And I'm like,
I
how
don't think
hard
so
is
because
that to
I don't
really?
remember. I know at the U.S. Open, I mean, I'm standing 40 feet from them and I couldn't hear them.
Oh
You
no,
know what
I
I mean?
heard it. It was broad.
And
It was loud.
I don't remember one way or the other at the Mosconi Cup how it went down, but like, listen, you can't. The professional athlete side, this is just part of it. You know what I mean? Like this just comes with the territory. And one thing that I'll say about a lot of these guys, I see some comments. I hope the American players don't listen to it. Listen, I say the same thing about the Europeans. If the shoe were on the other foot, and a
Yeah,
credit to
probably.
all of these guys because every single one of them have been completely professional throughout all this. The only time I've ever had any kind of issue is whenever how I went about things got a little more personal than what it should have. You know what I mean? And then I had to go handle that with that player and apologize after the fact. But like when it comes to just and it's nothing. I don't feel like it's anything off the table that's off a play, right? Like these are things that like we're watching, we're seeing. You know what I mean? This is you're under the biggest microscope in the sport, and it's the biggest event of the year. And every kind of move, whether you're running balls 1 through 9, or you're putting pieces in place if you're the captain, are going to be criticized and celebrated. And for that, and to be fair to the other side, all these criticisms of Jeremy, I don't think Ralph did a whole lot. Ralph just kind of sat there and was like, "Here's a lineup. I'm going to give you a
Well,
high five.
that's what I
Everything's
was
good,
going to say.
Max." And I
That's
was
what I was
like,
going to say.
"Came out smelling like
We
a rose,
witnessed
man."
we witnessed Jeremy's camp, and it was
Did
pretty disciplined, you know,
it
and
was yeah.
and almost like at times the players are like, "Oh my God, we got to hit 100 more of these shots," you know. So I don't
Right.
imagine that Ralph Eckerd's camp was anything like that. he probably deferred to the players a little more. I don't know what he did. I wasn't there. But today, Carl jumped on him during the team match and was saying, like, Ralph seemed out of place. He didn't know to go congratulate his players or what. But, maybe that style is working for him, and letting Team Europe just express themselves how they do, right? And maybe the U.S. are feeling a little bit of the, like Jeremy was so disciplined with things, and as they were preparing, maybe now they feel like they're not performing and they're feeling a little bit of the stress or the pressure of it.
I mean, look, you can work the same amount as the other guy, but there's just certain aspects that you can't account for, like just those intangibles. And I wouldn't go out on the same limb as you and say that they're not, that, they didn't do the same work, because I asked Federer, how was it preparing with the Europeans in years past? And he told me, he's like, it's very much like the same.
With Alex.
Without, well, yeah, but here's the deal is that you have 5 veterans there who are
Yeah.
no excuses, 5 guys who want to win, 5 guys who I feel like as much as Jason will do this, I think he genuinely respects the other team and knows their ability, right? To like let lack of effort and work ethic be the reason why you don't get there, So,
Yeah.
In that, and again, I wasn't there in Scotland. I don't know, but I would go out on a limb and bet that it was, at least in the same neighborhood of being disciplined and work ethic, I would say. So,
What were your thoughts on the fans, Mike? It was completely different than I thought it would be.
I tell you, like, I was hoping the Europeans would be a little more creative with the Federer, thing, because they've had a few months to kind of prepare for it, so I'd give them probably like a D, on the
Yeah.
creativity, where like they've been. I mean, they were like, national scholars. They were like D1. You know what I mean? Like they were the best of the best, and now I'm just, I forgot what it was. I don't have the chant in my head. You know what I mean? Like, and I expect that from those guys. So.
Some of these comments flying in are classic. Like some guys, like, I could coach Team Europe from my toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. You can't say the guy did a whole lot. And even Ralph kind of joked around in the press conference, I think it was, and says, hey, I'm the highest paid ball racker in the industry, because it's like, what are you going to do? You got the same 5 guys as last year. You just put out the same day one lineup as last year. What else? I mean, under a tough situation, you're going to win 11-8, right? Now it just came out where you're beautiful. You could really just put out whatever out there, and you got to think that, hey, they're going to be able to fade it because effing champions. What's the matter, bro?
Can I stay here with you?
And just and so
Yeah. So I mean, it was just a recap. Some people are asking about the score. If you didn't catch it, it's 4-0 Europe after day one. Not a huge surprise for a lot of people, I think, because a lot of people thought Europe was the favorite. Not as big a favorite this year as they have been in previous years, but still a favorite. And so I'm not hugely surprised by the scoreline. I'd be surprised if U.S. came out up 4-0 after day one. Like I was surprised that they were up 3-1 last year after day one. It's not panic time for Team USA yet, I don't think, but by the second, third match tomorrow, they better have some points on the board and kind of work their way back into this thing. And Team Europe, now it's a free roll, right? They can go out there, they can maybe take some more chances, play more aggressive.
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
Because their arm's not going to be loose anymore with that kind of cushion, and outside of Wolford, who are you really going to, that's the craziest part of what I'm about to say. Outside of Wolford, who really, showed up? So,
well, look, Sky didn't have a great match against Filler, but he didn't have much to look at.
Yeah,
during the team match,
in the team match, he was great.
He had a really nice
team match. Yeah.
He had a really nice out. He looked, I mean, he looked like Sky Woodward. I remember sitting here and, like man crushing on it. Like, wow, he gets up and plays in this event like nobody else. Like him and Filler. So when they matched up in the second match, I'm like, this is perfect.
But if you don't got anybody coming behind you, Joe, like if you're looking in the rearview mirror and ain't nobody there, you know how it is, man.
Yeah,
You've that I heard about that run at the expo, So I mean, it's like once you get on a run, it's hard to stop, and you got 5 world champions over there, 5
Yeah.
champions over there.
Yeah.
That's hard,
Well,
man.
yeah, and the Team Europe looked great, I thought, in both the doubles matches. Their communication was exceptional. They were really relaxed and calm, and
Yeah.
part of it, it was funny when the Spanish players were speaking Spanish, and Carl was like, "Let's hear what they're saying," or they were, "What they say," and Michael McMullen didn't know. It was funny, but like their communication is exceptional out there. You can tell, even though like if you're me, you don't understand the words, you can just see
Right.
it, right?
Right.
And I think what you hit the nail on the head earlier, it's that trust they have for each other.
For
And
sure.
you don't quite feel that yet from the teams going out for the United States. So hopefully
Look,
tomorrow, they take a little inventory right now of kind of where they're at. It's not over yet by any means. But these are big matches to start the day tomorrow. They're very important.
yeah, because then I mean, it can get really ugly really fast. It can turn into a bloodbath before you know it, and you've kind of put yourself in that position if you're the American team, whether you like it or not. But yeah, here's the deal. Like filler scratches twice on the singles. Nobody's pulling the panic alarm and saying like, "Oh man, can he fade it?" You know what I mean? Is he going to be all right? No one's saying that because it's filler. It's Josh. We've seen him over and over again on, so many different stages, right? And when SVB falls apart, you're like, "Oh no, it's just not Shane,
Yeah.
not Shane," because we've also seen it, the not so pretty way with Shane before out there as well.
Yeah.
So um
Well,
and
I
that's
think the biggest thing, so he misses those two balls in the team match, but then just being a little careless in the doubles match with Tyler, where Tyler leaves him in good position in the side, and he's got to get below the 7 ball, and he just gets him straight in on the 7, kind of jacked up a little over the 9, if I recall, and then Tyler hangs the 7, and the cue ball rolls down and almost hits it in. You remember
pours.
that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do,
but you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like that, you
yeah.
can't leave that ball straight because the 8 ball 6 inches from the pocket, kind of on the rail, on that short
Yep.
rail up there. I mean, that's just one of those things where I feel like if Shane was playing a world championship as a singles player, he would leave himself better on that shot. I really feel that way. It's just something where in that moment, uh, he just didn't take his time and focus on where exactly he wanted that ball to end up.
Well, yeah, I mean, if Shane's gonna bank on anyone, it's gonna be him.
Yeah,
So it's like, and I mean, you can put all 10 of those guys on there. If you're gonna ask him, who do you want shooting this shot? What is he gonna say? Me. And that's just the kind of guy that he is, whether you like it or not. And but it takes a team to win, it takes a team to lose. So I hope they're not out of it because I love seeing competitive pool, and we're friends with a lot of these guys, and I never want to see a lopsided thing like this. What have you seen? Um,
I'm not counting them out. I mean, they could still get back in this thing. Tomorrow's a big day,
when
though. They have to make a move.
when I predicted 11-5 Europe, it
Did
was
you?
there's just a I did, yeah. I predicted 11-5 Europe is what I predicted.
You
Yeah.
sucker.
But yeah, well, I mean, listen, I asked Pinoza. Pinoza gives me the same damn answer every time. I don't even know why I ask him
What do you say?
the question. What do you think he would say since you didn't watch the show? If you were gonna
11,
ask Mike Pinoza,
11-9 Europe.
no, see this is how much of a homer Mike is. Mike says 11-8 USA all the effing time I ask him. Every time. So which I
How's
guess
he feeling about
technically,
that?
well, I guess technically he's still in it, right? Because the Europeans haven't crossed 8 just yet. But yeah, it wasn't so much of what I've seen out there in Texas because look, they work their ass off. They got a lot of chemistry with one another. I do believe there's a lot of trust amongst that team more than years past. But part of it was still the unknown of what they were going to do out there, right? And then it's okay. What could happen if those things that are very much a real possibility do happen? How is that going to affect these leaders and how mentally tough or weak that I feel that they are? And so that's kind of how I was, weighing things out when I'm going there. But look, I hope they fight back.
Look, here's
They
a
obviously
comment here. Look at this comment from Manny Rod. U.S. cannot split 3-2 or 2-3 tomorrow. Mentally, they'll be done if they're not done already. I kind of disagree with that. I think they need 2 points tomorrow for sure. They would really benefit from 3 points tomorrow. I think 3 points gets them back into this thing. What would that make it?
wait. Time out.
Six,
So if you
6-3,
hold on,
6-3 going into day 3.
oh yeah, you'll take that because look,
I'll take that.
we've seen these Europeans when they started having someone knocking on their rear view. We saw how they handled it, Joe.
Yeah,
We
they're not
witnessed
going to
that
be
in
as
person.
relaxed as they were today. Yeah,
And
and
look, if you have that happen with Federer behind you and Sky knowing what he can do, right? I mean,
yeah,
a lot of ifs have to happen, but
yeah,
it happened last year. And for all this, like, oh, well, they're this, they're that. Look, man, the reality is a lesser team went out there and gave the Europeans all that they could handle.
yeah.
You know?
Look, Jack Crowther says minimum 3. I agree with that. I think if you go into the day 3 at 7-2 down, that is a huge thing to
Jason says
overcome.
night from the sauna.
But 6-3. That's what I said. I was like, why didn't US get a massage before the event? But 6-3 going into day 3, I think at that point US will feel like they're back in it, and they are back in it, right? They could pick up a few and be right there 6-5, 6-6. But tomorrow's a big day. They got to get some wins. They got to get some points going because today everything went against them. The rolls went against them. Federer makes a crazy cut
The
shot.
rolls went against them. Filler scratched twice in the first rack. How does that rolls didn't go against them then?
I thought they got some bad rolls. A lot of times you'd look up, Europe miss a ball and leave them hooked. I don't know. Maybe it's the lens I'm looking through, and the fact that I'm rooting for Team USA. But like when Federer cuts that ball in the corner and scratches in the side, to me that was crazy.
That was chilly. That was a little chilly.
Jason had one too, I think. Jason had one like that too. But anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I don't know about you, man, but I got stuff to do. I'm excited. We have 400 people in here. Guys, thanks for tuning in. You got to take your daughter out for her 10th birthday celebration, but we got to catch up on this tomorrow. Are you going to do the watch party?
Yeah, we'll try to do that again. Start it off at the beginning of the day, and we'll see how long we keep that going. We are going to do a morning show previewing the matches whenever the lineups come out as well. So make sure and keep your notifications on. What does Jason say? Tomorrow will be 9-0. If tomorrow's 9-0, you better you know what you better do. You better call the Filipinos, fly them all in. Give me five guys to come battle for 2 days out here against the Europeans, and let's make this a match.
If it's 9-0, what are they going to do in day 3? Play one match?
No, they'll probably
altering the match rooms, altering the schedule.
They'll probably day 3. They've done it before. They've altered the schedule before. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we are upset today. Dos Tito, whatever. All right, Mike. Well, let's sign off. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Make sure to tune in. If you're in the US, it's on DAZN. Everywhere else, I don't know. Check the chart.
We'll see you guys.